Yeah, maybe let's start with a very basic question this morning. How does data product management actually differ from normal product management?
Mhm. Yes, so I think we should take like 3 steps, right? So there's product management that has been forever, right? So when you buy, I don't know, like a table or you buy a TV, that's a product, and
Mhm.
a product manager has developed this product. So I would say product management is the discipline, right, of designing and launching products, and it's been here with us for a lot of years, right? When we talk about physical products, and usually it was combined also with some marketing responsibilities. So the first evolution is when we had the rise of digital technologies, right, or of software.
Mhm.
We translated some of these product management principles into developing software. So we said, okay, we can treat software as a product, and we can, talk to the users and make sure that we really understand and design things well before we build them, right? Because
Mhm.
if you're in the real world, if you build a table that is not working, you cannot use it, right? And in
That's true.
software we have the luxury that you can buy a lot of things that are wrong and no one cares, because it's not so easy to notice that they are not perfect as with the physical world. So in digital product management, we took some of these learnings and we brought them into software. And it is a discipline that has been here for a couple of years now. We have some great champions like Marty Kagan or Teresa Torres. And the next evolution of product management, digital product management, is data product management, where we say, so, or exactly as software at some point was everywhere,
Mhm.
now data is everywhere, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
we need to also start thinking, how do I treat solutions that are built on data and analytics following these product management principles? And what we have realized and what our customers have realized is that it is not so easy as to say, I will take a look at what software teams are doing and I will bring it to my data teams. And I would just do a very simple example, and it's not about digital product management itself, but it's agile. A lot
Mhm.
of software teams work in fixed duration sprints of 2 weeks, and that's almost impossible for data teams, right? Because sometimes you don't have the right access to your data, or the assumptions that you had are not really holding. So data product management is really adapting all of those product principles into data teams.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting. I know now you work for Mindfuel, right? Same as me, but I wondered, what does Mindfuel maybe different than what's out there on the market already?
Yes. So especially with data products and data product management, what we see in the market is that when people talk and think about data products, they think about this product, right? The what. So they say,
Mhm.
I am building data products.
Mhm.
And if you do this, you have the risk of going very quickly into the solution space. So you say, I'm building, it's already thinking about the solution. I think in Mindfuel, we come really from this classical product management where you say product management and data products are more about the how, the process, right? So if you are talking what's the main difference is when we talk about data products and data product management, our focus is not the what, is the how.
Mhm. So if someone would be starting with data product management and think about it, your advice would be take a step back and think about more the why am I doing it instead of like, oh, what fancy solution can I provide? Is that correct?
Yes, so the very first step that we always recommend to our customers is to take some inspirations in dual track agile.
Mm-hmm.
What this means is once you have successfully managed to deliver software iteratively, right? So let's
Mm-hmm.
say you have a continuous delivery cycle.
Mm-hmm.
What you can try to introduce is what we call a discovery cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And how we explain this very easily is in discovery, you decide which are the right things to build, and in delivery, you build those things right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of teams focus today in this delivering things right, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't spend enough time thinking about the right things to build.
Ah,
So
okay.
this is a good first step.
That's a good thing to remember, yeah. And how does a discovery phase look like? Like who does take part in this discovery phase?
Yes, so it could be very simple or very complex depending of your organization, but basically we think that in the discovery phase is where you deep dive into the needs of your business and into the needs of your users, and you really need to sometimes differentiate between the two of them, because you have your sponsor and you have your user, right? So let's phrase it like that. And some teams, they do discovery with the sponsor because they want to convince this person to give them the money, but then the users cannot use the solution, right? Because it was done with the sponsor in mind and not with the users in mind. At the same time, if you only focus on the users and you are not communicating with the sponsor or making sure that the sponsor understands the benefit of what you're building for them, then they might not fund the solution. So discovery is where you go one step back, you understand, we call the problem, need, or desire from your sponsor and from your user. And then you can find this. So we have some teams that do it ad hoc or freestyle with some customers. And as you have more maturity, you have to standardize this, right? So you develop some standard templates, some standard processes, and you move into this direction.
Now you said they're ad hoc, and what was the other phrase? What does that
I think
mean?
like more structured. So what we say is if you don't have discovery and you start doing discovery somehow, like even if you say, I'm going to sit now and think 5 minutes about my users and my sponsors, and then I will try to talk 5 minutes with them, this already helps you in making sure your portfolio is cleaner, right? But this is not like a professional discovery cycle, right? And what I mean by then is from this start, you can start saying, okay, who are the roles and responsibilities that we want to have in discovery? Who is engaging with the sponsor? Who is engaging with the user? Do I have like a standard ways of documenting all of this? So at the end, discovery is a process, and you can increase the maturity of that process.
Okay, I understand. And one last question maybe for today. You mentioned the users, right?
Yes.
Now, are the users internal users of the organization, or can it be also external users like you and me, and we want to use the data product?
Yes, it depends really on which type of product you are building. So at Mindfuel, we differentiate between 4 types of data products. And I would say some of them are rather thought for internal users and even technical users. So for example, for us, a data engineer is a valid user. And a lot of companies today, they don't go and interview the data engineer and ask what they need, for example, from a platform. Uh, and of course, there are some external facing products where you really need to go and talk with people like you and me, like external customers. And maybe a good example that happened a couple of weeks is Spotify,
Yeah.
right? So we have the year wrapped,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure that they have also interviewed people like you and me to understand how to present this, which kind of analysis would you like to see. So they are really adapting the experience to people like you and me. But it's at the end, it's a data product, right, with heavy analytics behind it.
Yeah, I really like this example because like this, I think Spotify Wrapped makes it really tangible for a data product to be, yeah, you know what a data product is in that sense because there's analytics behind it and you really see something in your own hands and you can understand, okay, the analytics are behind it and it is a product that people can use and understand and share also with their friends.
Mm,
Great. Yeah, thank you, William.
cool.